Hi, I'm Stacey and welcome to my Book Nook. And today I'm going to be doing my August wrap-up. I had to think about that then. I don't even know what month it is. I don't know what it is. Here we are. So, to start off, we are going to do the stats. And I'm pretty pleased with myself this month because I have read 10 books, and that comes to a total of 2,340 pages. I did DNF one book, but I read about half of it, so that's out of 2,597. So I think it's not bad. That's what it could have been, but it's still my highest read amount of pages this year, so I'm quite pleased. So my average rating came to 3.3. And 5 of these books were digital and 5 were physical, and I have read 7 new authors to me and 3 that I have already read from before. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing that I read in August was I should probably do Magical Readathon. Damn, okay. Wait a second. So, for my Magical Readathon at TBR. So I read Saga Volume 8, which is by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. And I gave this 4 stars. It was pretty good. If you don't know what it is by now, how do I describe it? It's a sci-fi fantasy type thing, and it's following this family who the parents were on 2 different sides of a war, and they have had a child, and it's about their life and them being on the run, really. So I gave it 4 stars, so it's pretty good. And I read that for pet pick for the Magical Readathon. Yes, I remember now. My dog Peanut picked that one for me. Okay, the next one that I read was Galatea by Madeline Miller, and that is a retelling of the myth of Galatea. It's just a short story. It's just a small book. I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. It was fine. What did I read it for? I read it for a book to read before bed. And because it was so short, I just read it all. The next one that I read was The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe. And I also gave it 3 stars. It's a classic horror. It's a short story again. And it's telling of this man who goes to visit his friend who is called something Usher. I want to say Roderick or something like that. It's essentially about the house and the family potentially descending into madness, I suppose. So that's that. And I read it for oldest book on my TBR, which was actually a mistake. Because for some reason I'd been looking at last year's Magical Readathon instead of this year's. But only for that one prompt. I think it still lined up just fine with the actual prompt it was supposed to be. So that's what I'm going for. It'll just work. I read it, it's done. The next thing that I read was my book club read, which was The Switch by Beth O'Leary. And I loved that book. It's so good. So it follows Eileen, who is an older lady, and also Lena, who is her granddaughter. And they decide to switch houses. And then because Lena has had a bad time at work. There's a lot of different family things going on. Lena's sister has died and they're trying to kind of come to terms with it. And it's just really, really interesting, really good, really heartwarming, and I loved it. It was so good, and all the old ladies were my absolute favourite thing. So I'm kind of thinking maybe I should read some more books with old people in it because wow. If people are like that in real life, then I can't wait to get old because they just seemed like a lot of fun. But it was realistic. You definitely have those kind of people, those kind of characters in real life. You just need to dig a little deeper, I think. And what did I read that for? Oh, that was for my find a song on Spotify and take a word from it. And the word was the. So, well, it gave me a 5-star read, so I'm quite happy. And the next thing that I read, I'm really pleased with. Because it was Threads That Bind by Kika Hatzopoulou. And it was really good. This is such a beautiful copy. I did not read this copy, I read my other copy. Because I just think it's so beautiful. And I love reading these copies. But I already had another copy. So I read this for I read it for Snake on the cover. Right. You're gonna have to bear with me a second while I find the damn snake. Okay. I'm pretty sure there's a snake head here, but then also all of these bits here have scales and stuff on them. So I think that's a snake. That's what I'm going with. But I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. And it's about a girl who. No, let's put it a different way. Okay. So it's about the descendants of the Greek fates. And it's got a lot of other mythology in it as well, which was really interesting. I really liked the magic system with the threads of fate and different threads. But then there's also other descendants. So it's got different magic systems for them. And I thought the story was very interesting. And I thought the world was very interesting. So I gave it. Did I say what I gave it? I gave it 4 stars. I did enjoy it. I'm going to assume there's a next one because it seems like there will be. I would read that happily. I think it could have been better. There were things in it that I think could have been better. But as it is, I really enjoyed it. The next thing I read is classic. It's The Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. LeGuin. And I read this for Earth in the title. Right there. So this follows Ged, and he's a wizard, and he goes to he wants. How do I even describe it? It's just kind of what happens to Ged in this first part of his life. It involves a wizard school, wizards, creepy shadow creature. I didn't love it. I think maybe if I'd have read it as a child and then had some kind of nostalgia for it, I would have liked it more. But I didn't enjoy the writing style very much, so I probably won't read the rest of the stories, which is a shame because I actually do have them in digital form. So I might read them. I might give it a go. Maybe the writing gets better as it goes on, hopefully. But it was a lot of wandering around, being on the sea, and all the action bits just seemed to be like a paragraph and it was done. And then we were back on the sea for like 5 pages. So yeah, it was just too slow going for me. I didn't really enjoy it. I gave it 3 stars though, because I liked the ideas. I liked the idea that a name means something and that you never give someone your true name unless you can trust them with it. And I like that idea. And I like a lot of the kind of world building in this, a lot of the elements there. But alas, no. Did I really just say alas? I think I did. Okay then. It's a shame because a lot of people really enjoy it, but I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. The next thing that I read was Cruel Illusions by Margie Fuston, and this I gave 3 stars. I don't know. I read this for a book with vampires, and there were a lot of vampires. It's definitely a vampire book. I think it was kind of marketed as Buffy the Vampire Slayer meets Caraval, and I don't know if I would agree because the house here, it plays quite a large part in it, and I feel like that's quite a big part. It does have vampires, it does have magic tricks, but actually it's kind of almost like a haunted house. And it has these really interesting, it has a really interesting blood magic system, which I did really enjoy. But I don't think the story quite came together that well in the end. And I do think it had almost a Hunger Games element to it, um, where they kind of fought for a place, and only one place would be given. But I felt like that wasn't thought through. It was basically trying to do too much, I think. I think that should have been more of a focus, and maybe like that plus the vampires plus the magic plus the dynamics between like the relationships between people. It was just too much for me, I think. It was too much. But I liked it. I don't know if I would read a next book. I don't know. I think there is going to be a next book. I don't know. We'll see, I suppose. But this is gorgeous, though. Okay, so the next one that I read, well, half read because it's the one I DNF'd, was We Hunt the Flame by Hafsah Faizal. And I gave it 2 stars. I DNF'd it. And the reason I DNF'd it is because it just didn't get to the point. I found it kind of tedious, kind of boring. Like, I liked the ideas there. I just felt like nothing really happened. And I don't know, I just kept reading it, and then I think I was about 20% through, and I was thinking I should DNF this. I shouldn't read anymore. I'm not getting along with it. Nothing's happening. And I was persuaded by my other half to give it a go. Keep going, try it out. Yeah, that didn't happen because I read about half and was like, I can't do this anymore. So I feel bad because on the surface, it's everything that I should enjoy. It's a desert setting. It's got Arabian inspired mythology, lots of magic. Well, actually, I say lots of magic. Kind of. It's a quest to get magic back, basically. But there is magic. And it's got a creepy forest. So there's loads of things that I should have liked, but I didn't. And I think it might just be down to the execution. Okay. Next thing I read. Oh, did I say what that was for? Do I know what that was for? It was for a book over 500 pages. And I read half. But I'm going to count it because I did a good chunk of it. I gave it a really good go, but I just couldn't get into it. Plus, all the other books that I read add up to over 500 pages, so I think it counts. So, the other books that I read were just extra. I had so much time at the end of the month that I just did extra reading, which I'm really pleased with. So that's the end of my magical readathon TBR. So the next thing that I read was She Is a Haunting by, let's see if I can get this name right. So it's Tran. That went well. That went well actually. I gave it 3 stars. And this is a haunted house book. So it's about Jade, and she moves. Well, she doesn't move. She goes to Vietnam for the summer to see her dad. She's with her sister, her little sister, and her dad is doing up this very old house in Vietnam. And I think there's ghosts. There's some creepy, crawly stuff going on. The house itself is kind of an entity, and I did really enjoy it. I liked the ideas of it. What I didn't like was that she and this other girl decide they're going to kind of pull pranks almost, ghosty pranks, and I didn't really like that because it kind of took away a little bit from the actual hauntings. But it was interesting. I did enjoy the relationships in this, and I enjoyed the atmosphere. The atmosphere was really good, and the ideas of the food stuff was really good and really interesting. And yeah, it was creepy. There were places in this that made my skin crawl a bit, so I think it did its job. So yes, enjoyed that. I did only give it 3 stars though, because I think the pranks kind of let it down a little bit. The last thing that I read was Wordslut by Amanda Montell. This is a non-fiction book about linguistics, and it's about the language we use, but in terms of being a woman. But actually, it's about quite a lot more than that. So it's looking into why we use the language we do around women. Why it's very much swear words. We're very much looking into swear words, hence the title. And also, it does go into things like usage of pronouns. It goes into other languages and how there are gendered words and the implications of that. It's about whether language shapes what we think about genders, or whether what we think about genders shapes language. I'm a bit of a word nerd, let's say, so I actually really enjoyed this. However, I did think the author, I think she put it in terms that was easier to understand. It was quite funny, but I did kind of very much feel her opinions, but also it was a lot of someone else said this, someone else said that, and it was a lot of quotes. So it was interesting in that way. And I didn't love that. I would have preferred more of an essay style, less of a quote from other people's style. So I did give it 3 stars. And I didn't really agree with some of the things that was said. I agreed with a lot of it, but some of the things just struck me as being wrong or dated. Yeah. Well, I guess read it for yourself and see. Yeah, 3 stars for that. I think overall it's a very mixed bag this month. 10 books is a lot of things to read though, so I'm actually really pleased with myself. Are there any of those that you have read? Did you enjoy them? What did you think about them? And did they differ to me? I would love to know. Please put your thoughts in the comments below. And if you got this far, which is quite far, maybe leave me, I don't know, a blood emoji for the vampire. That'll do. So, yeah. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. What did I read this for? I don't even know.